Kathy was an animal lover. And when that little dog got hit by a car, it had slipped on the foot of her bed and she was devastated. She cried every night. Well, Bob stood it as long as he could, and finally he went over and he said, "Don't cry, honey, I'll get you another dog." Well, she dried the tears up real quick. She said, "What kind?" And he said, "Whatever kind you want." Well, she wanted a Newfoundland. So of course he had already promised, so I said, "Okay, that's a big dog. If we get it, it's not gonna be in the house." Well, of course it ended up being in the house, and I said, "But not on the beds, nowhere." If that dog slept in anybody's bed, it felt like. I can remember it started out with the kids and ended up getting in between me and Bob and pushing us both till we was almost out of bed. But every morning, Bob said, "I think that dog knew 5 minutes before the alarm went off." And I would hear, he was always facing away from the middle of the bed, and I would hear him every morning saying, "Oh, damn you, Nanny." But dog would give him a big kiss every morning. And he never caught on. And Kathy, when she got older, she was working at Kent State. She came home one day and she had a great big box. And I said, "What's in the box, honey?" She brought it in and put it on the kitchen table. Opened it up and there was about 7 or 8 sick cats in there. I could not believe it. I said, "What in the world?" And she had big tears rolling down her face. She said, "Mom, they were going to drown these cats." I said, "Kathleen, these cats are sick. We cannot keep them." She said, "I can't let them kill them, Mom. I can't let them drown them." Oh my gosh, so she was just devastated. So I said, "Well, leave him here and your dad and I'll try to think of something." So when he came home, I showed him those cats. He said, "Oh my gosh, we can't have them even around the kids, around here." You know, he said, "Look at them. They had sore eyes. They had big patches of fur off of them. There was terrible things wrong with them, lumps on them and everything. And they could hardly stand up." So I said, I don't know what we're going to do with them. We could take them to the pond." He said, "I don't have time to fool with this, you know." So he said, "I'll tell you what." He said, "Put some bread, you throw some bread to them." When they jumped up to get him, he shot them, every one of them. Kathy always thought for a long time that we took them to the pond because we couldn't tell her. But that was terrible, I know. But one time we were sitting at the kitchen table, or at the dining room table at Kathy and Richard's. And Richard said, "Hey, Pop, what's this remind you of?" And he had a piece of bread hanging out of his mouth. Kathy didn't see, she hadn't known until then what happened. And then she came home one day. She said they had a little dog with her. She said it was just hanging around, Mom. There was nobody, it didn't belong to anybody. She said, "I asked all over." She said, "Well, I couldn't just leave it to run out in the road and get hit by a car." So we had that dog for a while. Then she came home one day and she said, "Mom, look I got a deal on this dog." Yes, she said, "It's a Doberman Pinscher, got papers and everything, and I only had to pay $15 for it." Well, I could see why. Her dad fixed a pen for it out under some pine trees, a great big place for it to run and play, and I couldn't even get in there to feed it. It was just so hyper. And I told her, I said, Kathy, you can't keep this dog. You have to take it back where you bought it and tell them that you can't keep it. Well, she didn't want to, but I told her that I insisted that I could not take care of that dog. So she took it and she left. When she came back, she had two of them. She said, I figured it was lonesome, so I got its sister. So we had two hyper dogs. I didn't even bother sending those back. We just kept them. It was always this way. Then we moved to the farm. Well, we was living there then, but when we first moved there, we didn't have any animals. We had lost all our animals by then. And Kathy was over at Karen's house, and she said, Karen called and said, Mom, you need to get Kathy a dog. She needs to have a dog. I said, well, fine, we just moved in, and I would like a couple months without an animal. She said, well, she needs one. You can't just wait, you know, she needs one now. I said, well, we'll see about getting her one then. She said, well, you don't have to. We already found her one. That was the start. And that little dog it was a nice little dog. Called her Aggie. She was part Scotty. But she was the wrong color, and that's why these people wanted to get rid of her. So that was okay. First day there, she right down in the pasture, rolled in the cow manure. So I said, Kathy, your dog has been in the pasture and needs a bath. So she gave her a bath, and 3 times that day she had to have a bath. I said, we can't keep doing this. So when Bob came home, I had him put a wire up, and I sent Kathy up to the feed mill to get a harness. I was afraid of collars. Dogs get choked on them. So the next day when she went down in the pasture, we hooked her up to that wire, gave her a bath, hooked her up to that wire, and she wasn't allowed to run free. She didn't like that at all. So when we let her loose, she did the same thing, and every time she did, we give her a bath and put her on that wire, and she didn't like it. So finally, we turned her loose. She stayed completely away from that pasture.